Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of Beyond Wall Street podcast. We have a very special guest today. Before we introduce our guest, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, America's Smart Homes and Businesses. America's Smart Homes and Businesses is providing air conditioning, repair service, and replacement solutions, and also generator replacement service as well. They provide advanced technology and artificial intelligence to find the problem before you feel the problem. Okay, today we have Tiffany Ferdus from Green Residential. Tiffany, thank you for joining today.
Thank you so much for having me, Gary.
Absolutely. Just so our listeners get to know you a little bit, could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. So like you said, I'm Tiffany Ferdus with Green Residential. I'm president and COO here at Green Residential. I've been in the property management space for about 10 years. I've found myself in property management accidentally, which I think is probably a common story among so many of us in the industry. I was a teacher. I was home for the summer living at my apartment complex. My property manager there called me, and I was just like, I was young, early 20s. So I was thinking like, oh, did I forget to pay my rent? But really, she was just like, I noticed you're home every day. Do you work? We really need somebody working in the office. And so I was like, actually, I just left my teaching job. And so I started in the office there the following Monday, and that was 10 years ago. So I've worked in every seat on the bus, so to speak. I've been the leasing agent, I've been the assistant manager, the property manager. My experience started in multifamily. So my very first property was a full lease up of 360 something units. And just kind of all the experience I've gained in the different seats have led me to where I am now, which is leading charge at Green Residential. We have about 2,000 doors under management, both single family and multifamily. We're focusing a lot of efforts of growing in our multifamily space. And I'm leading that charge along with some of my other executive team members here.
Very good. Wow. So you have are all of those doors in the Houston area?
So most of our doors are in the greater Houston area. We have a few doors that are outside the city area. So Austin, San Antonio, Fort Worth. We have some company owned properties in those areas. All of our party property management, which is what we really focus on, it's like our bread and butter, so to speak. It is in the greater Houston area. So we go from Conroe all the way down to Galveston.
Very cool. Awesome. What are some of the challenge as a property manager? And for those that are new to listening in, so we have operators of businesses, we have owners of businesses, we have investors as well. And so we this is purely for educational purposes. We are not giving investment advice. Um, but you're going to get to hear different perspectives. You're going to get to hear, how business is done among different people, and we're creating an ecosystem to where we all learn from each other. And so, for our listeners listening in, what are some of the challenges that you face as a property manager?
I think maybe one of the most common ones, especially like in the single family home sector, is um, being a single family home manager. You do also have to be a realtor. So myself and all of my team are all licensed. We do the leasing, and oftentimes even the sales of our house. And so what we face is that the market changes so much. You may be renting your house at in Katy for $2,500 this year. Next year, you're actually going to need to rent it at like $2,200. So, one of our biggest challenges, I think, is communicating to the owner, and many landlords, many owners of single family homes who rent them out are accidental landlords, meaning they're not necessarily the investor. So they don't necessarily have the same frame of mind when it comes to real estate. So I think just communicating, like, the market really does dictate what you can do with your home, not how we feel about the home, how wonderful the home is, and how nice it is and all your finishes, but like the market really does dictate what's going on. And in order to be a successful landlord and even turn your investment into a success, you have to be able to move with the market. And so I think communicating that, and also communicating that, like, when you have a property manager, just trusting in their experience and their professionalism really can get you a long way. If they're telling you you need to drop $50, dropping that $50 may actually be saving you 3 months of vacancy. So, like, hire the professional you trust and then, listen to the expert advice that they're giving you can really go a long way in the market today.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought you shared there, and a couple things. So a lot of people when they invest in single family homes, they think, oh, the rental's going to go up every year, right? We're going to
Yeah.
make more and more profit.
Hmm.
And so you're saying that's not always the case. The economy can
Hmm.
fluctuate, and that's a
Hmm.
great point. Dropping the rent uh, slightly will potentially prevent somebody from leaving, and then you being out even more dollars trying to go find
Hmm.
somebody to replace them.
Yeah, exactly. And if your home is already vacant, sometimes what I try to get my property managers to do is like, let's just do some math together. Like 50 times 12 is much less than a $3,000 home staying empty for 3 months. So I think that is probably one of the largest difficulties is like filling the gap on knowledge of the market and just encouraging people to like, follow the expert advice. It may seem like it's hard hitting to have to drop $50, but it is kind of saving you in the long run. So when you're hiring the property manager, like take the expert advice and, you know, be knowledgeable about the market.
Got it. So, a company like yours, if I'm following, will get involved. Let's say you have an investor that owns a lot of properties, and obviously that's too much for them to handle on their own. Then they would contact your company, and y'all would manage those properties for them, basically.
Yeah, so we service investors of all sizes and what we refer to as accidental landlords, meaning maybe they tried to sell their home and it just wasn't the time to do that, so now they're renting it out. So we do have owners who own literally one home. We have owners who own hundreds. So essentially, anyone needing property management services, maybe they don't feel like they are interested in managing the home, they don't have the time because they have their own careers. That's like where we fill in the gap. So we assign them a property manager and we handle everything A to Z from the leasing to the maintenance.
Yeah, that was my next question. So let's say you have an investor, let's say he owns 10 properties and he's getting to that point where it's just tough juggling everything. So he would contact you guys and y'all handle the lease pricing, the listing, the advertising, the marketing of the properties. And do y'all also hire the contractors and all that too, or?
Yeah, so we do all the vendor coordination, we do all the maintenance coordination, collecting of the rent, renewing the tenant, creating the lease with the tenant, answering just their general questions. Anything you think of in the course of property management, our team does handle.
Okay. And you said y'all are doing multifamily right now or all single family
We are
homes?
also doing multifamily right now. It's just a smaller portion of our portfolio. That's something that we're sort of focusing a lot of time on growing, just because myself and my team, we all come from the multifamily background, and we've just sort of all culminated here in this space. We're doing single family management. We do also already do multifamily management, but we're yeah trying to add specifically more multifamily doors because we do all have that experience.
Got it. And as far as the economics go, I know you mentioned the possibility of occasionally, lowering rent a little bit for strategic purposes. Are there other things that investors may want to be aware of when it comes to the economics of their property and cash flow?
Um, I think if you're a person who's like thinking about purchasing a property strictly for investment, obviously do your due diligence about rental rates versus the cost of ownership. So, how much is your mortgage going to cost? How much is your insurance going to cost? Potential maintenance, property taxes. You do want to kind of weigh all the pros and cons before you get into it. We have had people who um, have come to us and we're recommending a rental rate of XYZ, and they were hoping or really needing, I guess maybe it's a better term, um, a larger rental rate because they needed to cover all of these expenses. Now, the problem is when the market doesn't support that, it's just then you can go on the market at your desired rate, but it's going to increase vacancy and obviously lessen the renter pool because you're overpriced for the area. So I think the biggest thing is to do your due diligence, understand where you need to be, and does this particular home make sense, or is it going to be able to meet the demand? Like, are you going to be able to rent it at a certain price? So instead of only thinking about the mortgage costs, like think big picture, like insurance costs. When you have a tenant, you're going to have maintenance. Even if you have a home warranty, there are going to be things that fall outside of that. So just thinking of the big picture, thinking about all the costs involved, and then weighing, okay, I can rent for this much. Is it going to cover me so that this is a true investment property?
And are there simple things that an investor can do that would allow them or enable them to charge higher rents?
I think there oftentimes are. So, of course, a big portion is location. Location of your home. Is it in a high demand area? And then just when you're thinking of the home in general, one of the best things that you can do is just make sure the home is clean and actually ready for listing. So there are lots of options in the market today. It is a little bit of a buyer's market, not in like a crazy way where just all buyer demands are met. But what we've seen is people who position their home very well for listing, meaning it's clean, it's made ready. Maybe you had a tenant, so you've done some painting, you've done general maintenance, you've had it cleaned, you've taken professional photography for your listing or allowed us to do that for you. Those are the homes that rent the fastest. So it's not necessarily the homes that have had just these huge renovations, but it's homes that feel clean, they feel fresh when the prospective tenant is touring. That's really the simplest, easiest thing you can do.
How about condos? Do you guys get involved with condos at all, or is it worth having a property management for condos?
We do. We do have lots of condos or like apartment style living. And so we do even manage some condos where the buildings have actual management as well, because typically those buildings are not managing your tenant for you. So in those cases, we're sort of coordinating with your building management, and instead of going directly to you or to your tenant for like, maybe violations or community notices, they're coming to us. But it's still kind of relieves the headache from the owner having to deal directly with the management of the tenant or sourcing the tenant or helping them apply and be approved. So, in those cases, we do coordinate with the building management as well.
Got it. And so once y'all list the property, and let's say there's a tenant that's interested, do y'all interview the tenants as well?
So we will tour them. If they sign up for a tour, we'll take them to the home and tour them. We do require that they apply, and we have certain requirements like credit requirements, income requirements, criminal history requirements. They are fully screened and vetted. We have an income verification and an ID verification system. Um, at that point, we take the summary of all those screenings and send it to the owner. We're telling them, hey, we're recommending this tenant because they may met all of our requirements, or we're not recommending this tenant because they didn't. And then ultimately, the owner is telling us they can approve or decline that person.
Okay, okay. Very good. So yeah, it really sounds like you make the life of an investor a lot easier, and give them ability to do bigger things because their time isn't tied up, managing every single property. But before we close out, any last thoughts or advice for either property managers or you know you know investors that you've seen, either mistakes they've made or lessons learned, anything you want to share, just that's kind of a final note?
Sure. I think when you think about property management, you maybe think first about like buildings and properties, but it's a people business, just like being a full-time realtor is a people business. So for us and at Green Residential and for myself, it's like if you take care of your people first, everything else follows. And if you're an investor, hire the property manager that you think you would enjoy working with because you're going to be so interactive. Like it is a working relationship, especially if you own more than one home. So hire the person you think you're going to enjoy working with. They're going to take care of you. You're going to take care of them. And then the hope should also be that they're taking care of your tenant. If they take care of your tenant, you're not going to have to worry about turnover, so there's less cost. So, it's a maybe our first thought is not about the people necessarily when you say property manager, but our point is that it should be like it should be a people first industry. We try to be forward thinking people first here at Green. It's part of our motto, but it's also how we do business. We really believe if you take care of the people, everything else will follow.
Got it. Yeah, and I would say that's a differentiator for you guys. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So it's not just about the property, it's not just about business, but it's about the relationships as well, both with your clients and the tenants of the properties. That's great. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And what's the best way if somebody wanted to get in touch with you for property management? What's the best way for them to get in touch with, or you or one
Oh,
of your team members?
yeah, they can reach out to me. So, if you wanted to visit our website, it's just greenresidential.com. If you wanted to reach me directly, you can email me, and I'm typically like within a couple of hours able to hop on a call, text you, do a Google Meet, depending, on your preference. But my email is just Tiffany at greenresidential.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, there you have it. We have another episode here, and thank you to our listeners for joining the Beyond Wall Street podcast. We're bringing owners, operators, and investors together to share ideas and hopefully do big things in the future. And stay tuned for future episodes of the Beyond Wall Street podcast.